In this episode, I want to talk to you about how you get map control, and especially if you're ahead, how you make sure that you stay ahead and how you keep the enemy from farming. In order to get map control, there's like 2 or 3 different things you need to focus on. One is you need to get towers. If the enemy has all their towers up, they will have a lot of information. Very hard for you to be able to like sneak past the towers. They block like your movement, your smoke moves, your lanes from pushing in. The number one thing is to get a lot of towers. If the game is even, but one side has all their towers up and one side has 0 towers, that like pretty much automatically means that these people can't TP around. They have a lot less vision. They're like just gonna lose map control. The second thing when thinking about keeping map control is that if you die, you also lose a lot of map control, because there's one hero less that can be on the map, either pushing out waves, scouting, making plays, ganking. So usually it's a little bit like ice hockey. Like if you have one more man on the field, you know, you want to make sure that you play aggressive and you take more map control. This doesn't always mean that you need to make like a lot of moves so that you need to play aggressive, but it means that if you have the number advantage, you want to play more on the offense and you want to like push up more lanes. You want to, I guess, take more space on the map. And if you're playing from behind, that means you usually want to play safer and play a little bit more together and make sure that you're not taking as many risks. When it comes to map control, you on the offlaner, especially if you're playing a hero like Axe in this game, you're playing like a blink stun or like a hero with catch, is usually the offlaner's role to make sure that you're the one killing the enemy. If you're ahead in a game and you want to push out a lot of lanes and you want to make sure that you farm a lot, but the enemy team is always pushing the lanes back and they're playing really split and they're like, you can never get to their side of the map because everywhere I go there's like a Miranda top, there's a Wyvern mid, there's a Gyro bottom, like we're never getting anywhere. That usually means that you're not setting up enough and you're not killing the heroes, because if they're pushing out all the lanes, that means they're not together, and that means that to kill them you don't really need to team fight. It doesn't really matter if your like team or lineup is weaker or stronger than theirs. It just means that you need to be in the right position at the right time. This is very early into the game and I just finished my blink and we go for a smoke move. The most common thing to do when you want to get map control is you want to take first this tower and then you want to take the mid tower. In this game we have a lone druid, so the mid tower is already taken and this tower is already very, very low, and I don't think any hero is playing here because we are playing from ahead right now and I want to make sure that we fight them. I try not to run too much to towers. I try to run where their heroes are and I just expect these towers to like kind of fall naturally along with it. If the enemy is very strong on defending their towers and you think it's very hard for you to get towers, it's really important to get map control that you play around your catapult timings and that you dive the people defending to like make sure that, especially if you know that you're going to want to farm for a long period of time, like with Spectre, to make sure that you can be able to open up the map and get map control. If you only run around for kills all the time and you don't really play around towers at all, eventually for you as a blink stunner, the enemy team, is very easy for them to know what you're doing and it's very easy for them to always stay together and be ready. Looking at this game, we smoke to mid, we only kill a support. It's not really that this Wyvern kill is what matters so much. What matters so much is that they no longer have a hero that pushes out this lane, that keeps giving them vision and information. This lane will push into their tier 2, which in turn, if you look at their vision, instead of them having vision all around this area and feeling safe, whoever is in here and whoever is in here, both these areas are now scary for the enemy team. So by like eliminating the guy that's playing the most like valuable area on the map, you kind of take away the safety from all these camps, like the Ancients and the Radiant Jungle. This is like where most of the farm is for the enemy team right now. So when you want to take map control, you want to focus on always controlling the part of the map that's like most important for you right now. Sometimes, if you, let's say later into the game, if we have a lot of items, that's going to be Roche a lot of the time. You want to make sure that you're controlling this part of the map when you want to get map control. This is what's important. If you can take Roche for free, you're probably going to win the game. Sometimes, especially earlier into the game, this jungle and like Ancients is very hard to control, but if you can control this, you also usually win the game. You want to control the parts of the jungle that has a lot of farm, so like this part, maybe the enemy's Ancients. If the enemy is like controlling this jungle, and you can only farm this, you're naturally going to fall behind. And in this scenario, because we're controlling, or we're at least taking control right now, you can see that the Gyro, who's been playing here for like the past few minutes, all of a sudden he doesn't feel safe enough, so he runs away. But our Spectre, who's still sitting in this jungle farming, he's not really feeling scared. That means that like we can farm here, we can farm here. The only place they can farm on is this triangle. We're going to pull ahead a lot on gold. It's very simple to do this for a period of time, but once the enemy team maybe catches up a little bit from a weaker laning phase and they get more items, they're going to start fighting you back. It's important to recognize that even though you're playing from ahead, if you make like a 2-man move or a 3-man move and you jump into 5 people and you die, extremely bad for the game and you're going to lose a lot of your map control. So like getting map control, it's a lot about playing like a slow and steady game where you like kind of choke out the enemy. You make sure that everywhere they go, you try and shut them down. You try and like be there before they get there. It's not so much about like doing a bunch of crazy team fights and like killing him all the time. It's more like, okay, well, we couldn't defend this tower, but we took these 2 towers. We pushed the gyro out of this jungle. If they were to be crazy enough to walk in here on our Spectre, you know, they even, like the 3 heroes up here, if they were to walk in and try gank him, all of us would just TP in right away and we'd like smash them out of here, and then we walk down back to bottom and keep controlling this. So we have like a very good map setup right now where we outfarming them like very heavily. However, if I were to start dying like in this jungle, if I were to be killed right now, all of this jungle would then again be safe for them, and like they would have their half of the map back, which would mean a lot of farm for them for like a long period of time. So it's very important as well that even though you're winning and playing aggressive, especially if you're snowballing and you're winning, that you play it safer. You take less risks. If you're playing from behind and you feel like you're getting choked out, that's when it's more important to maybe split push more aggressively, maybe force the enemy team to split up and not like keep the chokehold that they have on you instead. You can see here, I just like instantly, I have a feeling like they're gonna come for me. I'm just gonna blink and TP out. I'm not like, oh, I'm wasting a lot of time, I'm back in base. Like, I know like if I die, it's really, really bad. So that's really what you should be focusing on. And as soon as they've done this, I have this feeling like, okay, well, my Spectre is pushing out top. We're not controlling bottom anymore. I saw some heroes there, I think I'm just getting ganked. You can probably expect like, right now, if you look at the map, like, well, nobody's up here. Like, nobody's on this side of the map. Maybe the gyro is farming ancients, maybe somebody's farming ancients, but the other 4 heroes are going to be here. So if you feel like you're stronger than them and you want to keep taking map control, you always want to move to the area the enemies are in, or the area the enemies are going to be. If I think like we smoke the bottom, they're going to be here, because they maybe think like either they don't think we're going to do the move or they think we can fight us, that's like good. But however, if we don't show top or mid for a very long period of time, they're probably going to hide and they're going to be scared. And what a lot of people do when they're split pushing is that they like push out a wave and then they wait and then they like chill. So another thing to do when you want to take map control as well is that you try and, when you do smokes or use in general, you try and place wards less like for, I guess less for controlling like areas of the jungle, because when the map is being very like, when you're chasing the enemy like this and they keep running away from you, they're always going to place a lot of D-wards and they're going to try and cover the hill. Like we run in a ward, they're going to come D-ward it. A lot of time it's better to place lane wards like this that's going to catch them when they want to go and split push and when they want to push out the lanes. So it's also something you can think about as an offlaner, because your post 5 is probably not going to be in these positions too much. Like let's say I push out this lane, I sit here and wait for somebody to go show. You can put a ward on this hill, you can put a ward even all the way back here if you're that deep. Usually your support is not going to be in these positions, so it's a really good thing to carry like at least 1 ward in your backpack throughout the game. You can see that we're not really like, we don't really have like super much map control in the terms of our vision, but because we're feeling that much stronger than them and we're always running at the enemy, they're still going to play grouped up and they're still like going to be together. Unfortunately, we run into a ward here and a lone droid dies, and it's like things that are going to happen, but it's very important that once things like this happen, that you also leave him and you make sure you don't die on more people. If we were all to die right now, they could probably take like a tier 2, maybe they could even go Roche, because it's only a lone droid that dies. We still defend our mid tower. It's like the most important thing to keep the map control, to defend your own towers. So nothing like really was lost. And in this game, like the enemy team probably has a stronger timing right now. Even though we're ahead in gold, we still have a Spectre that's level 13. He's about to finish Radiance. We don't really aim to take over all of the map. We just aim to make sure that we're like pressuring them and we know where they are, so they can't really do like any moves and they can't really kill our Spectre. My goal in this game is not to like shut them into their base, because I don't think we're strong enough to do that. My goal is just to make sure that we're like fulfilling our win condition, and for now that's just like farming and keeping map control. I'll fast forward a little bit to over here. I think around this time my Spectre has Haunt. Yeah, perfectly timed actually. My Spectre has Haunt and we're feeling strong, so we go and smoke. This is like our first like 5-man move of the game, when we decide, okay, this guy says I want to fight right now, he's saying I have item. We start like setting up around Roche. We know we want to go Roche, so we move to this area. Probably somebody's going to be either alone here farming, or they're going to be top like defending the tower, pushing out this wave. So it's a good idea to like move to the enemy's triangle if you know you're going to win this fight. Once we clear out this area, it's very easy for us to just push the top tower. Like we defend our mid tower. Well, they got the mid tower, but we like push them out of this area. We start playing around Roche. The enemy team knows, of course, well, like they're also competitive games, so they know we want to go Roshan, so they fight us for this area and they like try and defend. Unfortunately for them, we wipe them and we win, so the game is like kind of over at this point. But sometimes like controlling this area is very hard. Sometimes it's just 5 people here. It's a lot better for you to like poke, maybe understand they're 5, and then to split out on the map, and then respect that they're playing together and they're not farming, and you keep map control instead by always forcing them to stay together while your team can stay split. That's like the number 1 way you're gonna pull ahead in gold. That like people are staying together, they can only farm like 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 creep camps, maybe a wave here and there. While you're following all of this, you're gonna be really happy. My lifesteal is just about to finish his like Desolator Halberd. I think he's like feeling like he has a strong timing. I think this is ILTW, like a VP's carry, so he's a very good player. He says right now, I want to go high ground. And I'm like, you sure? And he's like, yeah. All I want to do is force them back to the base. So what he means, right, is not that we're like going to go high ground, we're going to hit the racks, and no matter what, we're just going to keep going and going and going. What he means is, I think he thinks that we're strong enough to take this tower, to walk up to their base, force all of them to go back to their base to defend, right? Because if they're not going back to their base, well, that's a free racks. And once they've all gone back to their base, I'll show you in a moment, over here, then we all back off. Oh, that happened a little bit quick. So right now, we start pushing this tower. I don't even know if he even hits it once. He hits it, okay, hits it twice. Oh, it's back to protection, that's why. He hits it a few times anyway, and he sees that they start tipping in, they start rotating back. This moment, now, we've taken a lot more map control than what we did like 1 minute ago. Comparing the map, they're all in their base. Sure, Faceless Void is out farming, but that's like 1 hero. We're all out on the map, jumping back 1 minute like this. You can see that, wow, everyone is like so spread out. They could be farming on a lot of heroes. We don't have a lot of information. Using the fact that we have an Aegis and like calling for this high ground push, and also me like spamming Venom Wards along the way and making sure that it's hard for them to run out, gives us like a big advantage in terms of map control. So when you don't have the strongest pick-off lineup, and especially when you're playing like a teamfight offlaner, instead of, I guess, taking map control by trying to gank the enemy and trying to like set up plays all the time, sometimes it can be better to coordinate with your team and saying, let's just go push this tower, or let's push this tower, or like say like walk with me, run with me. Because the strength of your lineup is not obviously to like buy a blink and blink Gale people with Vendo. That's not going to kill anyone. The strength is that you have a lot of teamfight damage and you have a lot of control with the wards. So by taking these towers and forcing them to run together, then we can split up and farm. And then once again I can start using my hero as a bait once we've like established more map control and once we're out farming the enemy. I'll show you real quick right now. After we do this, I think we're gonna take a little bit more towers, so take a few more fights. And then around, I think I died, I respawn. Around this part of the map, we do the exact same thing again. Where now we have a bigger gold lead, because this has been going on for a while. I think maybe we won a team fight. We start going high ground again. Same scenario, we are a little bit stronger. That means that maybe we can do this a little bit longer. I think this time we even force Void to TP home. Okay, well he TP's out. Well, this is a huge mistake on this guy. I think he's probably very triggered. I think realistically we get the racks here. Well, we chicken out a little bit, but we also don't have any information on him. Oh, I remember actually the lifestealer said if I get chroned I died, because his Aegis was out. So realistically the Void should not have TP'd out, so he's expecting him to stay in base, and he's saying like if I get chroned I'm dying, and then we just decide to go back. What happens now, we know they're all back in base, or I thought the Void was back in base, but the rest of the team. I'm just playing to control space. I'm putting myself like where I think the enemy wants to play. I'm putting myself at like the highest risk, right? I'm alone in the enemy jungle. If you see like this is like what the information they have. Unfortunately they have this ward, which is going to end up killing me. But if you look at our team, like previous to this, we're just like splitting up. Lifesteal is farming, Invoker is farming. Like basically at this point, I'm 1v5ing their enemy on the map. I'm keeping all of them in the base and we're not giving them any information by like killing these camps, keeping this hill warded, pushing in mid, bottom pushing out together with Invoker. So sometimes it's not only that you need to like force the team fights or that you need to bait. It can be enough that you use push out lanes at the right moment in the right time. Like now, like we're kind of close together. If I get jumped right now, I'm pretty happy. I think it will be a good fight. At the same time, if they don't jump me, we're still going to be farming on Invoker. We're like farming on other people. We have like a lot of map space and we're going to be farmed. I think this is a really bad team fight that we take on this ward. So I think it's also important to know like when you're playing these heroes like Venom and Tide and you're staying in one area, you make sure you have sentries and you make sure that they don't have vision on you. If the enemy team has vision on you, it's extremely easy for them to like catch you and kill you when they see that the enemy team is not there. When you're playing the mid game and you want to make sure that you have good map control, I think you always want to have a goal with what you're doing. In some cases, that's like farming an item, or that's like getting this one thing that's going to win you fights or like try and win you the game, like a BKB or a blink or those kind of things. Usually when you're playing more teamfighter heroes, like a Venomancer or like a Tidehunter or something, you should have like the goal of more like the goal of understanding how your team wants to win the game, and then you should have your own personal goals. My only goal in this game is to just push out lanes and try and control the enemy's areas. Wherever they want to play, I'm just going to move my hero, and I'm going to make sure that I bait myself. The only two things I think about like pretty much the entire game is where is the enemy, like where are they going to go, so where do I want to put my hero, and then at what time do I want to fight with my team and bait, and at what time do I not want to fight and I want to run away. Some games your goal is going to be really different. Some games your goal is going to be to kill them. Some games your goal is going to be to only farm, like maybe you're playing some like a Lycan offlane or Beastmaster offlane or something and you're just farming. Some games, if I'm playing like a Tidehunter and I'm very far behind, maybe I'm only farming because I'm waiting for this blink timing or something. So it changes a lot depending on the situation. But in general, like blink stun or gankers, your goal should be to kill the enemy heroes. On these teamfight heroes that has a lot of like turnaround potential, like Venom and Tide, your goal should be to get gone on and be the tank and like bait. And if you're playing like greedier heroes, maybe like Doom or Lycan or like, I don't know, some Faceless Void offlane or something, your goal should probably be to get farm yourself and to understand when your timing is and then call for your team to fight. I think the last thing I would want to say is to understand map control. The most important thing you can do is not to die. And then if you think you're gonna die, at least make sure that you're like dying for a good cause and not only dying because you're getting caught off guard. If you find yourself getting caught off guard too much in one game, I think you should tell your team to bait you more, or you should play more safe. You should understand, look, I'll die a couple times now, I need to play safer. And if it's like a pattern that keeps happening over the span of maybe a few weeks, or you feel like, why am I always dying so much? I think it can be really helpful to watch your own replays and to understand like how you died and why you died, and not only that you're dying a lot, so you can try and like prevent it in the future. I think that if you play offlane for an entire game and you never die, that's usually also an indication that maybe you play too safe. Maybe your carry has a lot of deaths and you don't have a single one. I think that's not really the way things should be. So you shouldn't like be afraid of dying, but you need to make sure that you die for a good cause. So an example of when you like die for a good cause is, I think this is a very classic one. Your team is taking Roche and you don't really have too much control of the enemy triangle. There could be a lot of heroes here. At the same time, the worst case scenario for me would be if they like go in and steal the Roche, or if they kill my carry. Maybe they, in this case they don't have chrono up, but maybe they do, and I need to stop them from chroning the Faceless Void. The best I can do is to make sure that they go on me and that I like start the fight. I think here like maybe I'm playing like a little bit too aggressive, but I just know if I start the fight by them going on me and I get my spells off, that we're probably gonna win the team fight. So in my opinion, this is like dying for a good cause, where the Viper dies, like the mid hero dies for me to die. We probably get a few more kills. This like secures us the Roshan instead of me like playing far back defensive. Like maybe I'm playing not to die, but I'm also gonna have way less impact playing like that, and maybe like my carry dies instead.